Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. I don't know if I have a cheating story. I tried to post this the other day, but the account was too new, so I might need to add an edit for updated news. I am a SAHD because of a medical condition. I am 34, have been married to my wife, F33, for 7 years with a son, 6, he will be starting school soon. My wife and I have had a nice life together. We have sex 1 to 2 times a week, sometimes more depending if my affliction is acting up. It was decided I would be a SAHD when I started to miss work when my health issues started about 3 years ago. So here is the reason for the title. My wife is traveling for work. She does not travel much but does on rare occasions. This trip is planned as she has a conference and is going to have meetings at another of her company's locations for training purposes. So she was packing her suitcase. She had it opened on our bed, putting her things in. I was helping. Using a mental checklist, we were checking off the list so she did not forget anything. Last minute I said that I did the laundry and her PJs were clean in the laundry room. She went off to get them. In the meantime, I thought I would slip a love note from myself and one from our son into the bottom of the suitcase, telling her how much we love her and will miss her. As I pulled up the clothes, I noticed the bottom layer is a set of lingerie I have never seen. She usually does not wear lingerie. I am beyond hurt. I slip the notes in when I hear her coming back. My mind is going 100 miles per hour. My worst fear is happening. Because of my affliction I have felt less than a man and that she would leave me. I stay silent. We go to bed. We have sex. She could tell that I was off. I just said my health issue was the problem. This has been the case in the past. We go to sleep. The next day I took her to work. She was taking an afternoon flight, so we drove her to work. Then we came back later and drove her to the airport. During the day, my stomach was in knots. I was going to pull the lingerie out of the suitcase. That really would not stop her from cheating. So I went to the store and bought a box of condoms. I put them on top of the lingerie with a note for her not to bring me anything home. So she has been gone for 2 nights. We talked the first night after she arrived. The next night she called at my son's bedtime. I have a special ringtone for her. So, when her call came in, I was reading to my son who was in bed. I gave him the phone to answer. She talked with him a few minutes to wish him good night. He then handed me the phone she had disconnected. I guess she found my notes. Edit. The lingerie is the type you would wear to bed, not a bra and panty set. So now I have to wait. She comes home Friday afternoon. I have already called my parents asking if they are up for a visit this weekend. Since the new lingerie was hidden and she hasn't mentioned the condoms, I think she is busted. I think most innocent women would have burned up your phone when they found the condoms. You got silence. Sorry man. Assume it's true and plan accordingly. Remember, she has had lots of time to come up with the most convincing stories, so don't just believe anything she tells you. I wanted to add that right now she doesn't know how much you know, so use that to your advantage. Absolutely. Had I done this to my wife, she would have called me ASAP after finding the condoms and not wanting to know WTF, I was thinking. The silence was shocking because she got busted. Yep. My husband went on a camping weekend with 4 guys. For giggles I rolled a condole, lube and a butt plug in his sleeping bag with a note about a broken back mountain weekend. Not only did he call me when he unraveled it, 2 of the guys texted me too. I would hope in the best case she wears the lingerie to try and make herself desirable. I don't know how she's handling being the breadwinner and having a husband who may not make her feel desired. If she feels like a caregiver, that's something they need to work on in the marriage. Why do you assume the husband might not make her feel desired? He has said several times he can't work or have sex sometime because of his illness. She's taken on the traditional male role. She probably wants to be seen as a lady at this point. Yeah, but is she a lady or a tramp? Sorry, I couldn't resist. My husband has a significant health issue and we haven't been able to be intimate in months. You don't see me packing a suitcase with lingerie for a work trip. Loyalty. How many more days is she going to get there? She will be back Friday afternoon. Tell your parents. Now. Update: I don't know if I have a cheating story. I tried to update earlier but it would not post. I contacted the mods but have no response yet. So I will give it another go. First, I want to thank everyone for their responses. We are going to take this weekend and talk it out. First, a little background, as I am going to describe this from my wife's thinking. You should know about us. We both come from a small suburban town. We both grew up in fairly conservative families. Our families have known each other for years. We both went to a Christian school, then on to Christian college. We were his sweethearts and each other's firsts. We did have sex in college, only with each other, if that means anything. We both have admitted to kissing someone else but no more than that. We talked on the phone after her goodnight to our son. I said I would call back at 9 p.m, that is if you are not busy. I know it was a smart aleck move. She did not answer, so I repeated that I would call her at 9. 9 o'clock comes around and I call and she is crying and blubbering. I wait. Then as she calmed down I told her we needed to talk this out. For now, I need to know what she is thinking. What have I done to make you want to cheat? How long have you been cheating? Who is it with? So this is some of what she told me. I listened and did not interrupt unless she went silent. The wife was promoted to a position that would require her to travel occasionally, essentially for training. The company always put their people up in a nice hotel near the training. We have been to hotels ourselves, but always the more economy class. The hotels she has stayed in had restaurants and a bar. In 2019 she went to her first training requiring 2 overnights. She was with a couple others attending the training. She had the names of the people attending and they all agreed to meet up for dinner the first night. They ate then went to the bar. I imagine she was overwhelmed because we are not bars or club people. She says she was half listening to the conversation and watching everything. A woman walks into the bar dressed in a business suit. She has a lanyard around her neck. She could see it was an ID of sorts as she had one also, but they were different companies. The woman sat at the bar chatting with the bartender. He got busy so she was by herself. About 5 minutes later a man walked over to get a drink and started a conversation. He got his drink and offered to buy her another. They talked for about 15 minutes, got another drink and moved to a table. Another drink comes and they take the drinks and walk out of the bar together. My wife thought I just saw a pickup that will be AONS. The next night after training and dinner the group headed to the bar. In walks the woman, dressed businesslike. This time she catches the ID from a large well-known company. The woman gets a drink and heads to a table as the bartender is too busy to talk. In a little while a different man than from the night before leaves his table and approaches her. She invites him to sit down. They have a couple drinks and the same as the night before, they head out together. My wife mentioned it to the group. One of the more veteran employees told her that while it's not common for pickups, it's not uncommon either. There is the anonymity of an ONS between two adults that are lonely and have little chance of being caught. This caught her interest, which then turned into fantasy. She had 3 or 4 more trainings that year. On some nights she saw hookups, on others she did not. 2020 came and travel was stopped. But her fantasies did not. When we had sex, she admitted thinking she was having ONS. To be honest, we are not good at expressing what we want sexually, so she kept this just in her head. However, she had convinced herself she could have sex with someone else and would be able to separate the emotional from the physical. In April of this year, they started to travel again. She traveled 2 nights. This time there were 2 others with her. Same thing, dinner then to the bar. They had drinks but she saw no action. She had brought the lingerie. It's actually a one-piece that covers her breasts and torso. It's black and lacy. Now that I am writing this I forget what she called it. She left the bar with her co-workers, then circled back thinking she would get another drink and see if anything happens. She struck out both nights. In June, she had another training, for just one night. This time she wore the lingerie beneath her clothes. She went to the bar. She was nursing her wine when a man that was at the bar brought over another glass and asked to sit down. They talked a bit. She was getting panicky as it was building up. He finally gets to, "Why don't we take these drinks upstairs?" She says she didn't say anything at first, then waggled her ring finger at him stating she was married. He immediately waggled his saying, "If you don't tell, I won't." She refused him. They continued to talk. Eventually, he excused himself to go to the restroom. She left and went to her room. She said she was sweating and almost hyperventilating. She swears nothing happened. So this week rolls around. She has training and there happens to be a conference in town for her field. She can get additional educational credits, so she signs up. The conference is in another hotel but within walking distance, as there are like 6 hotels all along this road near the airport. She does her training. As she is going to get dressed up, she discovers our notes and the condoms. She made the call to our son but could not face me, so she hung up. She claims the conference was terrible as she could not concentrate. In fact, she thought she would be so sick she went back to her room and did not attend the afternoon session. So my son and I are waiting for her flight. We are sitting at baggage claim. Him on his iPad watching a movie while typing this up. If I missed putting in some details, I can fill in the comments. I will see if her story holds true as we talk tonight and through the weekend. I told her I was headed to my parents for the weekend, leaving her home alone, but decided to drop my son off instead so we could talk. Well, your original red flag gut instinct has merit. So when you talk with her, most likely you will have a gut feeling if she is lying to you or telling the truth. The best scenario is she considered cheating on you and could not go through with it. The worst case is she went through with it and is lying to you. If she did not go through with it last time, she was taking the garment and going to try again this time. In either scenario, you both have a lot of work to do. Keep us updated and good luck. ETA, edited for content. I would lawyer up and have the divorce papers served to her at work anyway. Have it announced that it is because of adultery on her work trips. Just remember that it is easy to stop the process at any time. Use the divorce papers like a cattle prod to shock some reality into her. If you get the gut feel that she is lying to you or trickle truthing, carry on with the divorce and tell family and friends why it is happening. You have to look at it like Mr. Spock, all logical, no emotion. If she is not lying, and that is a big if, cheaters lie, remember that, then she needs to quit her job immediately. If traveling is giving her the urge to cheat, then she needs to remove the opportunities and then seek IC. If I was in your shoes, these things would be non-negotiable. If she refuses, then have her pack her things, go live in one of those hotels and you file for divorce. There have to be consequences for her actions. She took lingerie and was looking for the opportunity to cheat. Consider that if you had not left her a note and condoms, would she have gone through with it? She needs to know you are not a doormat, you will not be taken advantage of, and you will be nobody's second choice. Good luck, stay strong now or be played for a fool in the future. Initially I thought you were jumping the gun and it was possible that she was innocent, but her explanation is the biggest load of bullshit I've read in a long time. I was born on a Friday but it wasn't this morning. That story doesn't add up. 1 year, I was on the road, 14 different sites, for 179 days. I was there to work. That extracurricular shit she's saying never crossed my mind. When I got lonely, either my husband, bestie, mom or one of our kids would fly over and enjoy the location. No way would I have ever considered inviting a stranger to my room. That sounds like a horrifying episode of SVU or something. Now, I'm thinking your first instinct was right on target. She cheats on him on business trips. It's just sex to her. It's dangerous, thrilling and taboo. Her quarter BC she had to wear sexy lingerie for the other men to see. Had she never packed it, he'd be none the wiser. Her whole story about being this innocent, naive little thing discovering one night stands at the bar by watching this one woman is extremely laughable. I'm having a difficult time distinguishing between the shit I literally just scooped my cat's litter box and her explanation. They look identical. But you seem to have already accepted her story as truth and are ready to forgive. I hope you remember these words in a couple years when you get hit with another D-Day. Cheaters are smooth-talking liars, and there is a surefire way to know if a cheater is lying to you, and it is that their lips are moving. Yeah, he will be back in a couple years sure as the sun rises in the east. Every week there's at least one post of "I wish I would have listened to you guys about where I am." Every week. Not saying this to put Op down, just saying how predictable the wife is and how predictable the outcome is if he doesn't divorce her. She left and went to her room. She said she was sweating and almost hyperventilating. She swears nothing happened. Never believe in a cheater that said something like. She swears nothing happened. She swears it's all okay. She swears it all will be fine, because you can trust her. And so on. All lies and deceive. Indeed, she was sweating and almost hyperventilating, and forgot mentioning even moaning, but not with the chit-chat with AP, but in the effing act or acts, because I don't believe it was only once. If she's a 100% Catholic, maybe remember her wedding vows are broken, the marriage is over, and you think she will go to burn in hell because of her several sins. The crying, the sobbing and etc. of her is unnecessary, because it won't help her, it just helps to expose and enlighten, in your mind even more, her guilt, in what she's done. Let her think about it before she betrays you. She should have bet on communication between the couple, trying to solve the problems, if there were any, and not on her personal satisfaction and selfishness. Good luck to you, Op, wish you and your child all the best and a good life without that cheater. You should set up a polygraph session before that plane even touches the ground. Preferably before she checks on YouTube for videos on how to beat a polygraph. Words of a cheater, I don't buy for a second that she didn't cheat when she had all the intention to do so. That woman with a lanyard? Brace yourself for trickle truth, you'll probably find in 6 months that that woman was her. How's it going with that lawyer? Have you started looking into it yet? Get to it. Update 2, I don't know if I have a cheating story. It's been a long weekend. You can catch up on the earlier details by checking my profile. When we picked her up at the airport, my son ran to her and gave her hugs. I leaned in for a family hug as she was holding my son. I gave her a kiss, she whispered in my ear how sorry she was. I just nodded and said we will talk tonight. I drove us home. We went in as my son had drawn welcome home pictures. My son and I left shortly after to my parents. I left my wife home to unpack and to mentally prepare for our talk. When I got home, she was sitting on the couch waiting. I asked that she move to our dining table. I wanted to put something physical between us. I had printed out the call logs for her phone. I started out on how gutted I am feeling and that I accept that our marriage was done. She started crying. I waited until she stopped. I did not want crying to deflect my questions and would wait every time she cried. I asked that she be completely honest. I mentioned that if I felt her answers were evasive, I would demand her to take a lie detector. She agreed to be forthcoming as she wanted our marriage. I had her tell me the story again. Then I asked questions. I challenged her on the timelines. I asked questions in different order of her timeline, then would circle back to the same question, sometimes asking the same question multiple times during the evening if something was added or left out. She would get emotional with me because she said I wasn't believing her. My wife does not lie, even white lies. I have known her most of our lives. If a question presents itself where a lie could be inserted, she will either avoid the question or she will pause and think carefully before she answers. Knowing this, I repeating questions knowing her tell. I told her how I found this lingerie. It is a black lacy corset, I guess is the best description. She bought it once she knew she was traveling again. She bought it at a store in the mall. She had made the trip to buy some business attire as she had put on a few pounds during COVID and her nice clothes were snug. I knew of her buying the clothes and had seen them, minus the corset. I cannot get over why she felt she needed it. I find my wife beautiful and am sure many others would feel she is very good looking. She thought that is what she needed to look sexy. I asked how she came up with that idea. She picked it up after watching a movie on TV. Now our TV viewing is very minimal, consisting mostly of entertainment such as Hallmark Channel and other family programming. Knowing how sexualized our society is, I can understand if she happened to see some movie with a scene showing a character wearing something like this. There are days where I get wiped out physically and sleep incredibly long hours, leaving her to kill time by herself. I asked her over and over again why she would hang up the phone before talking to me. She said that she came to the room to slip in her corset. She called my son. While talking to him, she found the notes and the condoms. She felt trapped as she was found out by me. She did not have an explanation. So she hung up to think how she would explain this. I had her explain over and over her encounter with the guy that bought her the drink. She admitted she was so close to going to his room. She deflected by showing her wedding band. His response of not telling if she didn't was exactly why she was there. She almost slid off her chair to go at that point, but something just held her back. I asked what that something was, but she would only say her conscience. But yet she still tried. Our talk went several hours into the early morning Saturday. During the day I would think of more questions and we would start again. Her phone did not show any messaging apps, deleted messages, photos or anything incriminating. The phone logs did not show any numbers called frequently that were not family. The numbers she could not remember who they belonged to. I dialed from her phone, but businesses and such that were explainable. I still do not understand how she felt she could expect to separate the intimate from the physical in having sex with a random stranger. I questioned her over and over on this. Our sex would be considered lovemaking. We are very intimate with each other. I know for certain I never have looked at our sex as just physical. She admitted that she at times just imagined herself with another man, never seeing his face, while we were having sex. As I mentioned in past posts, the wife and I each come from religious families. Once we married, then moved to the city. From our families we moved away from our religious backgrounds. We still attend church regularly and feel part of the church community. We no longer attend Bible studies and midweek services. I cannot say the last time we read the Bible together. We went to church on Sunday. After services we hung back in the church to talk to our pastor. I asked him if he was available to counsel us on our marital issue. He is off on Monday, today, but we have an appointment to see him Tuesday. I am waiting for him to send me the time. He also mentioned there is a marriage encounter program that area churches hold in conjunction for their parishioners in September. It's a weekend away where there are guest speakers and workshops with the intent in straightening marriages and working on issues. I expect to ask him to recommend a marriage counselor. I thank you for your comments and tips. I am going against most of the comments by staying, at least for now. We will see what happens in counseling. My biggest concern is when she decided not to go to the guy's room, she decided to try again on the next trip. You and she have a very different view of sex. I cannot imagine how she convinced herself that she would risk her entire marriage to see if cheating on you would affect her. She has clearly shown you that her wants, they are not needs, clearly outweigh her commitment to you and your son. Her behavior and thought process is selfish and lacks maturity. Does she see her selfishness? How do you trust her on her next business trip? Hang in there and my thoughts are with you. That's the rub here, isn't it? She's happy to throw the marriage away for an experiment. While not every cheating situation is the same, they all have at least one thing in common: lying. This was premeditated. She even told you she had to get off the phone to come up with an excuse as to what was up with the lingerie. You need to take everything she says at this point as a lie. You'd be a fool not to. She hung up because she did not know how to address me, as she just discovered I knew. Everyone is missing that she could have not told me anything that happened at the hotel. Who would have known? She told the why, the how, the when, the where. I know what I know because she has told me. Many are not taking into account our relationship. I know a flip was switched by her, but this is almost like it's a whole different person who did this, not the woman I have known most of my life. Wow, I am not at all sure what you do not understand in this situation. There are countless people on the relationship subs that testify that their cheating spouse lied to them when confronted and only told them enough to get them to believe the lie they were telling, which was, I did not cheat, I only did this, which was whatever they thought their spouse would believe short of actual cheating. They will only admit to what you have evidence of, and since you didn't catch her in the act, she only has to admit to wanting to cheat. She has physically cheated on you. You didn't just happen to catch her the very first time she was going to. If you had found proof of oral, then she would have admitted to that. She hung up because she couldn't think of a lie fast enough and did not know how much you knew. This is simply how cheaters act. Your wife is not the exception to the rule. She was always this person and you are just now finding that out. You want to believe a fantasy and she is going to help you go right along with that. This is so true. She could have not told me anything that happened at the hotel. She didn't tell you what happened at the hotel. So far, she has just fed you a story, giving you the absolute barest of minimums. Anyone here not wearing rose-tinted glasses can see clear as day that I never had sex with anyone. Some guy hit on me and I chickened out is a tale, and not even a good one. This is the third time I ask you, have you scheduled a polygraph yet? Why not? Your whole future is not worth the $600 to set an appointment. Do you know how many other people have written about stuff like this? Religion has nothing to do with it, and your past and what you thought you know has nothing to do with it. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg. I wish you luck, because you're going to need it. You've just rug-swept your wife's cheating behavior. The marriage encounter program you mentioned likely does not ask participating couples to stand up and profess their guilt of infidelity. So, unless she tells your pastor what she has done, and you don't seem like the type that would force that, she plans to keep this between you and her. She is probably going to ask you not to tell any family or friends about her behavior. No one will know about this except you and her. Then the next time she travels, she can purchase lingerie in the city she travels to. My advice to you is forget MC for now, especially church-sponsored MC. She has a corrupt value system. Tell her no MC until she gets herself into IC to figure out why she thinks it's okay to have ONS while out of town for a work function. Another thing to avoid is for her to have individual counseling with your pastor. Too many stories on Reddit about wives having affairs with their pastors after they sort them out for individual MC. Good luck. The pastor knows why. He needed a heads up before we walk in there tomorrow. Thanks for the reply. I strongly urge you to speak about this with a close friend or family member, especially if you don't go to IC. A close friend or family member? Not going to happen. We are from a small town with very tight connections. Why are you not listening to anyone's advice from people who have experienced firsthand what you are going through? A church pastor is not trained to do therapy. They have not had to pass state boards for a license to counsel people. Know this. He will try to save the marriage, not find out why she was attempting to cheat on you. Here is what you will get. Some form of a confession like you already have received. Pastor will go back over what a marriage should look like and how religion plays an important part, and to pray on it as you work on what she has done. Be prepared to be blamed for some part because she can't be totally at fault. He will give you both lots of reading material. Again, the role religion plays in the marriage. Perhaps some support groups as well. I'm not trying to bash religion or people's faith, but you need to understand. Pastors and leaders of faith should, in my opinion, concentrate on religion, and if an individual or couple has questions about faith, by all means it's well within their permeates. However, when dealing with infidelity, they should pass just like they should if a person came to them about payroll questions involving a business. My best suggestion is call around and find a licensed therapist who is trained to work with your wife's infidelity. Your answer states why we went to our pastor to have us look at the marriage. We also asked him to recommend a marriage counselor as we have no idea how that search is done. We look at all areas for advice. This sub is one for me to get my head on straight. The pastor to get us married. The marriage encounter to examine our marriage. Counseling to work on our issues. That's not to say there will not be individual counseling also. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.